Hi and welcome. First, I would like to introduce our project team. Anne Mary Higgins, Amy Vathier, Kevin Warnack, and myself, Tori Marsh. And we thank you for being with us today as we split leap into the history of jazz dance. First, looking at the history. Jazz dance originated in the 1800s by African Americans brought over on the slave ships. It was meant to be an expression of their emotions. Jazz dance is a classification shared by a broad range of dance styles. Before the 1950s, jazz dance referred to dance styles that originated from this African American vernacular dance. The theme of jazz dance took on a metamorphosis during the 1950s, and demands for studio instructors created a rival to the fashionable classic ballet. Jazz music and dance were all infused with Broadway musicals and gained mainstream popularity with Chicago and Cabaret. Taking a deeper look into its early history, as jazz dance has progressed, it has fed into a progression of music. As music enhances, jazz dance enhances. Choreographers feel the music in a different way and create new movements. Jazz blends elements from varied traditions including African and African American, religious, brass band, and blues styles. New Orleans' Storyville was a notorious red light district and was a home to brothels and bars that provided the only venues for jazz early on, since African American performers were banned from performing at white clubs. In 1917, the U.S. Navy, fearing dissipation and violence among sailors, shut down Storyville, scattering jazz musicians who joined riverboat bands or moved to cities such as Memphis, Chicago, St. Louis, and Kansas City, where local styles evolved. Ironically, the first jazz recording is made the same year by an all-white band. The introduction of the Prohibition in the 1920s brings jazz into gangster nightclubs, the venues that serve alcohol and will hire black musicians. These speakeasies allow whites and blacks to mingle socially for the first time. They also draw young audiences from all social classes, attracted to both the music and the increasingly suggestive jazz dances. Both the mixing of the races and the widespread belief that jazz incites sexual activity causes critics of jazz to step up their efforts, forming campaigns to censor this devil's music. Even Thomas Edison, the inventor of the phonograph, ridiculed jazz, saying it sounds better played backwards. But the reformers are not able to halt the growing popularity of jazz among black and white audiences. Recordings and radio broadcasts allow the music to reach beyond nightclubs and continue to grow and evolve, which in turn feeds the progression and movement of jazz dance. Like most art, jazz dance has advanced and evolved over time. As mentioned earlier, this evolution is closely linked to the development of the jazz music genre. After the 1930s, there was a surge of jazz into the musical theater realm and further boosted its popularity and acceptance. By the 1940s, the jazz dance became choreographed. Public opposition to jazz faded as new generations embraced swing, big band bebop, and later styles to include the Charleston, jitterbug, the twist, and the disco. Popular figures in jazz dance include Katherine Dunham, considered the Grand Master of Jazz, created the jazz isolation as we know them today. Bob Fosse was the creator of the jazz hands, and Michael Kidd, who choreographed Guys and Dolls, a very popular piece. In recent years, contemporary jazz dance, a style helmed by choreographers like Mia Michaels, has come to the forefront of the scene. In this style, there's a strong influence of modern dance, but still has some classical jazz influences. Modern isn't the only genre that has crossed over into jazz. Recently, hip-hop has taken a very firm stand in the jazz world. For an idea of the jazz/hip-hop fusion, look no further than music videos by artists like Usher, Rihanna, and Beyonce. Think hip-hop with a classical technique and smoother edges. The following slide is a video of jazz dance during its earlier development.
This is what the college boys did to him. Around the world, Charleston. Now the precision, Charleston. Duet.
Technique is the foundation for all dance movement. A strong technical foundation enables a dancer to focus on the stylistic and performance aspects of a dance. Technique is essential for leaps and turns, where correct posture is essential for properly executing such moves. Also, jazz dancers' strong and sharp movements are greatly aided by a good background and ballet technique. However, while ballet movement emphasizes on the upbeat of music, jazz dance emphasizes on the downbeat. Central control is important in jazz technique. The body's center is the focal point from which all movement emanates, this making it possible to maintain balance while executing powerful movements. Spotting is an important and common turning technique that is utilized. This allows a dancer to do pirouettes and voyettes without getting dizzy. This technique requires a dancer to focus on a main spot in front of them. You continue to focus until right before the body turns and the head whips around back to the same focus spot. The following video performed by Anne shows some of these moves and techniques. Next we will look at jazz dance costume. Anne gave a great example of what you might see worn for a jazz dance in her video. Dance costumes are an extremely important part of today's modern jazz dance. To assist their performance in competitions, dancers practice for months to get the routine memorized and perfectly executed. They even travel far distances in order to compete with other teams of equal talent. Costumes help bring to life the performance that the dancers work so hard to complete. Jazz styles of dance allow the dancers to wear elaborate and themed dance costumes. They help accentuate the dancers' movements, making them look more flowing and elaborate. The movements of jazz style dancing incorporates the entire body so that it appears that the group is moving as a whole. Oftentimes, choosing the perfect costume will complete your team, make their performance appear flawless. Costumes of this style should be flashy and eye-catching, similar to Anne's, so that the audience is so drawn to every movement of the body. They should also be fitting of the song that is being performed, so that the mood of the performance is just right. Uniformity is extremely important to this style of dance, because the costumes add so much to the performance. Jazz dance was a breakout art of its time, allowing people to express themselves in an entirely new way through movement. Although the art of jazz dance struggled through adversity as people got past their superstitions and grew a better understanding of jazz dance, this has stood the test of time. Classical jazz dance can still be seen in popular theaters, on Broadway, and around the world. But just as important as the dance style itself is a number of other dance forms it has influenced and is the root of. Thank you for listening to our presentation today on jazz dance. Are there any questions or comments?